Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Un perfecto show today. Anyway, folks, welcome aboard. Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard. Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Welcome aboard. Eric Hayes from Atascocita, Kingwood. How are all my peeps doing? I trust everybody is doing fine. Anyway, folks, we got a show for you today. Hey, Paul, I think I saw you on this morning, but I forgot to get to the right screen that had all the people on. Lee Grant is in the house from Montgomery County. Thank you for being here, my brother Lee. How is all doing? I am doing fine. I hope you guys are doing fine as well. Anyway, folks, let's see. Michael Rodney says, Egberto, 2 for the screen. Let's see what you got there, brother. Earlier too. Okay, let me go ahead and put that on the screen. Bear with me as I copy that over. And the other one, let's see what's the other one. Prosperity. Okay. Let's go ahead and get that one on the screen as well. And then I'll get to it in a minute, my brother. All right. It says Egberto get Trump supporters as garbage. Let's go up here. Egberto, 2 for the screen. Joe Biden recently referred to some Trump supporters as garbage, referring to the way MAGA are doing demonization of immigrants and minorities is as unconscionable, while describing Trump as a failure and a xenophobe. Trump treated Puerto Rico like garbage during their time of need while he was in office, and recently called our nation's garbage country. So it's no wonder these comments are resonating. Now I should ask, why do you MAGAs care what your opposition calls you, or fascist garbage people? Ask anyone from Greatest Generation. They'll say yes. But not only that, I find it ironic that these MAGA loves to go out there and go ahead and call people all kinds of names. Trump calls Michelle Obama nasty. He calls Kamala Harris dumb, retarded. He calls her all kinds of names. And the first time it seems like they're called some name, it's the end of the world. Can you believe what they think about you? Well, then Donald Trump says any Jewish person who votes for a Democrat is a fool, is dumb. Didn't he say any black person who votes for the Democrats are dumb? Didn't he say any woman who voted for? He said all these things, right? He stereotyped everybody else's, all these other folks, right? Brother Biden slips and says garbage, which already they've called Puerto Ricans garbage, and it's the end of the world. Look at how Donald Trump is. Look at how Biden is talking about you. It didn't come from Kamala, right? The ticket is not Biden Trump. The ticket is Kamala against Trump. That's what it is. Kamala against, but he can't remember who he's fighting. The people can't remember who they're fighting against, man. That's what it's all about. Anyway, let me keep introducing folks and then get to the real show. El Señor Bruce Pollard is in the house. We also have, let me keep scrolling down before I start reading more of your stuff. Let's see. E2247 is in the house. How you doing, E2247? All right, let's go ahead and start reading some of the stuff here. Michael Rodney says this country needs a wake-up call. ABC News poll: while almost half the country correctly sees former President Donald Trump as a fascist, according to a new ABC Ipsos poll Friday, some who believe that he's a fascist will still vote for him. Among registered voters who regard Trump as a fascist, 8% support him regardless. Again, you can't look. That is like the woman who stays with the guy who beats her to a pulp, right? She will defend him. If you try to arrest him, she'll defend him. That's my man. That's my man. Or a guy who's abused by a woman for his entire life. And, look, there are some people that have their level of self esteem is so low that it doesn't really matter. And I have a particular video to show you guys that you're gonna like. But before we get there, let's get to brother Rudnin's piece here. It says, earlier today, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump supporters at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. The comments at that rally don't reflect who we are as a nation. Punto y final. All right. What else does Rodnin have for us? Donald Trump doesn't care about Puerto Rico's prosperity. When he was president, let's look at what he did. Let's not look at what he says. Let's look at what he did. All right, let's get busy. He withheld billions of dollars for Hurricane Maria recovery. He lied about the death toll of Hurricane Maria while most of Puerto Rico lived without clean water and electricity. He claimed Puerto Ricans want everything done for them and called Puerto Rico dirty and poor. He suggested selling Puerto Rico or trading it for Greenland. He opposed $600 million in additional critical nutritional assistance. He ensured Medicaid funding for Puerto Rico was cut in half. Now, these things have to be promoted out there because Pennsylvania has 400 something thousand Puerto Ricans, okay? And a lot of those are New York Ricans, New York Ricans or something they call them, which means they already have a propensity not to vote for Trump. Okay? Here's the thing. Don, all these polls that show a close election are really biased towards, or the reality is that poll is biased, or rather, that election is actually biased towards Kamala. Why? Because a lot of Republican women are voting, and I mean a lot. I mean, Republican women in Arizona, Republican women in New Mexico, Republican women in Pennsylvania, Republican women in Georgia. And they're not telling folks who they're voting for. But given the bro nature of Donald Trump, I mean, these are troglodytes. These are troglodytes. You watch the convention. It was like testosterone filled, like you're back in the 50s. And then you watch the Madison Square Garden, MSG. It was like, oh my God, are these guys serious? Even Nikki Haley came out today and said, hey, stop all this alpha man kind of stuff, guys. You're turning off women. They've already turned off women. This election, like I said, everybody, oh, the election is going to be called, it's going to be days before we know who is president. We will know that Kamala Harris is president by the time California closes. Okay? I repeat, we will know that Kamala Harris is president by the time California closes. And let me tell you, folks, I am saying this, but you guys have to go out there and make it happen. You have to go out there and vote like you're voting right now. You guys are voting like there's no tomorrow. And the reason why is, guess what? If there's a Trump, there's no tomorrow. So I'm happy to see how the voting is going so far. You know, there are some pundits that are saying, hey, look, The Republican vote is up. Yep, the Republican vote is up. And guess where it's up with? Women. Women. And young women too. All right? So I love it. I love my Republican women because, like I said yesterday, the swing vote this year, it's not black men. It's never really been black men. And it doesn't matter how many stories Trump wants to put in the ethos that black men are going towards Trump, or that, you always find reporters trying to find a black man who's supporting Trump, right? I know a lot of black men. I know a lot of white men. And you know what? Even a lot of the white men that I know are not supporting Trump. Of course, what can I say? But anyway, so be careful with the narrative out there. A lot of these polls are scared to uh, really weight appropriately. They're overweighting Trump because of what has happened in 2016 and 2020. Not to worry. People just go out there and vote as you're voting right now. Keep voting, keep knocking on those doors, because we want the election known on that day. We don't want to give them any opportunity to do their election stealing like they attempted to do back in 2020. All right, let's continue. Paul Fleming says, this is where we're losing the Civil War. The Supreme Court, breaking Supreme Court allows Virginia. Yeah, that's 1,600 votes. And guess what? Those people in Virginia, those 16 votes that have been taken off the roll, they can go register same day as they vote. What we need to do is inform people. Look, as they try to oppress the vote, we inform them as what is their workaround. Okay, what's their workaround? All right, Paul Fleming says, why do we always have to clean up things they never do? White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on Wednesday sought to clarify President Biden's comment Tuesday, Tuesday, in which he appeared to refer to. Look, I agree with you, Paul. She should just have said, look, this is what he meant. Guess what? It's not, he's not on the ticket. Kamala is on the ticket. Next subject. They keep asking about the same question. Go to the next person until they stop asking. Democrats need to stop being wusses. You're right about that, Paul Fleming. All right, what else do we got here? What else have we got here? Bruce Pollard said, if your name was purged and you're a legitimate voter, there must be a way to do a provisional vote. Yeah, you can do a provisional vote, and they have to take it and count that particular vote. But again, in Virginia, it's different because you can go ahead and do same-day registration. So you don't need to do provisional. Just same-day register, go vote. All right. E2247, let me read his new data. Day 390 of the war, at least 43,163 Gazans killed. That's at least 573 wounded. 4,590 persons more than day 365, equal 144,294 casualties. This is a genocide. I agree with you, sir. I absolutely agree with you. We have a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do. All right, let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming says, at campaign event in North Carolina, Donald Trump lied and claimed that Kamala Harris paid more than 75,000 people to attend her Washington, D.C. speech. Man, the guy can't believe that she got 75,000 people. So somehow she's going to spend some money to pay them to go. Wow, what a thing. You remember what we talk about Trump and projection, right? Do you remember when Trump came down the golden escalators and there were people there, there was a crowd there? We know for a fact that those people were paid by Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump in projecting goes ahead and says what? Oh, since he knows that he paid, he assumed that she paid for her people. Unfortunately for him, her performance at the ellipse were tens of thousands more than his performance at the ellipse. She had 75,000. He had 53,000. There you go. Poor Donald Trump. His size, as Obama would say, his size isn't big enough. All right. What else have we got? Melanie Keelan is in the house from Barcelona, Spain. How are you doing, my beautiful Melanie? And by the way, folks, I am not sure if we're gonna have a Ask Egberto anything this week. I am trying to see if there's so much happening on this Saturday. I'm gonna try to still have it. But I'll let you know for sure on Friday. Please remind me to remember whether we're doing it or not. Images. What's that? Images not on screen. Come on, I have it on the screen now. I have it on the screen now. All right. Let's continue. Cost of extending the expiring Trump tax cuts for the rich, 4.6 trillion. Cost of cutting corporate tax rate to 15%, $1 trillion. Both Trump proposal explode the deficit. Yep, we're going to talk about that. All right, what else have we got here? You know, all the economists that come out, over 70%, already said that Donald Trump would cause the economy to crash. If we were to implement his policies, the economy would crash. And I wrote a blog about that. You guys should have seen that already. Bruce Pollard said, let's not waste time on name calling. I mean, who's name calling? Uh, Hitler won his vote. Yes, he did. All right, let's see what else up. Michael Rodney says, I wonder if Eric deluded to think tax cuts for the rich pay for themselves. Well, you ever heard of something called a Laffer curve? Look up Laffer, spelled, I think it's Laffer. I don't remember his first name. But he drew a curve on the back of a napkin. He just pulled it out of the air. Where if you cut taxes a certain amount, economic activity increases by X amount, and then wherever that intersection is supposed to be the sweet point. The reality is he has no objective data to prove that. But I don't need objective data to prove that. Because I know one thing. If you give tax cuts to those people who already have money and don't need any more money, it doesn't have the same economic throughput as if you give that money to people who need to spend money. That's not a question. That's a statement of fact. Okay? So the Laffer curve is a laugh. What is his first name? I can never remember Laffer's first name. Let me look it up. Laffer. Let's see what his first name is. Arthur Laffer. Arthur Laffer. He's a quack. He's a quack economist. Lee Grant. Dems look desperate. All they got left is whining. No, 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 no. We are not desperate. I promise you, we are not desperate. I am 90% sure we'll have a President Kamala Harris absent some crazy thing happening, okay? I am absolutely 90% sure there will be a President Kamala Harris. Yvette Avery Herod is in the house, or a beautiful union person is in the house. Hi, Yvette. How you doing, my dear? Okay, what else have we got here that I should put out here? Egberto, that image already has 120,000 likes. Which image is that? Oh, great. Who put that one out? Kamala Harris. I love it. I love it. I love it. I hope I can remember to repost it. You know what? Do me a favor, Radnan, if you have the time. Send me that link through my direct messaging, not my instant. What is it? Through instant message and messenger, and I'll go ahead and post that. All right, what else have we got here? The only reason they are closed is due to media keeping the VP. That's a joke. Eric, I'm gonna engage you here. I'm gonna engage you here. Just so that we can be straight, I want the rest of the audience to hear this as I engage you. Eric Hayes thinks that Kamala Harris is only still in the game because the mainstream media is propping her up. Okay? Kamala Harris is an experienced prosecutor. She is an experienced attorney general, which means she's worked in government with the laws, etc. She's been elected several times. She's been elected in the biggest state against people that never thought she could win because she has always been exceptional. She served as senator in the United States, where she made Supreme Court justices who were up for nomination look like fools in the way she queried them, showing her her prowess in the law. Kamala Harris can speak in coherent sentences. Kamala Harris is young, relatively 60 years old. Kamala Harris, again, raised a family. She knows how to work with people. Donald Trump, and by the way, she came from the middle class, went to school. Again, had to do a whole lot on her own. Donald Trump was afforded $400 million from his dad. Donald Trump got a lot of his exam paid for in the school that he went to, the business school that he went to. Donald Trump went ahead and stiffed people by creating the Trump University that wasn't a university and just stole people's money without giving them any benefits whatsoever. Donald Trump held women by their private parts. Donald Trump went ahead and stole from his charity. Donald Trump refused to pay many of his people who worked and did works for him. Donald Trump went bankrupt 6 times. How the hell do you bankrupt a casino? How do you bankrupt a casino? Donald Trump, a perennial liar. Donald Trump does all these things. Donald Trump was convicted of 34 counts of fraud. Oh, wait a minute. Donald Trump continuously commits real estate fraud, tax fraud. Donald Trump carouses with the mob. All these things define Donald Trump. And still, you want to make anyone believe, okay? You want to make anyone believe that somehow those two can be held up to the same intellectual standard or the same moral standard. That's a joke. That's a joke. There is no way. Donald Trump is only there because of, and I'm going to play a piece by Miss Wilkerson that will give you some context, and you, Mike Cisak, fall correctly in what she's talking about. But brother, let me just say that, and by the way, Cisak, I don't know why you think you have to come out here and lie. Neither CNN's real reporters or MSNBC, any of them thought her speech was other than great. The only part of CNN that didn't think her speech was good was the Republican hack that was there to try to downplay it. So when you say even CNN said so, you're wrong. A Republican pundit at CNN, the only one at CNN that didn't think it was a good speech. Again, you're lying. You see how you have to lie to try to get your piece across, brother? Not good, not good, not good. All right, anyhow, so what I'm going to do now is I wasn't going to play this one first, but I will now. Wilkerson, I want you to see why is it that MAGA will support a sexual assaulter and a convicted felon. Why does MAGA feel the necessity to support this? And Wilkerson has the answer. Here we go. We've been wondering why it is that there are so many people who, in as much as Donald Trump is shown to be incapable of doing anything presidential, that he is incompetent, that he cannot speak well, that he cannot think well, that he's a convicted criminal, a convicted felon, that he has pulled on women's, you know what, that he has been found guilty of assaulting women, that he all these negative things, that he has ripped people off with false universities, airline. I mean, this guy is just the bastion of degeneracy. And there's still a group of folk that are willing to vote for him because of what he represents. And, you know, a lot of people want to say it, but they don't quite know how to say it. To some, people look at this as a turning point for them, an existential point for them. He is their savior. He's going to ensure that they can remain on top, as if we need to caste system. We have a caste system where certain folks are the only ones that belong on top. Isabel Wilkerson, the author of Caste, she says it best. So I want you to listen to this short interview that she had with Lawrence O'Donnell, because I think she nails it. But she don't only nail it. She also points out what needs to be done. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
It is an honor to have Isabel Wilkerson joining our discussion. She is Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and author of the New York Times bestseller, Caste: The Origins of Our Discontents. This is such an important moment in our history, and I am wondering what we are seeing. And one thing I'm wondering is how, especially tonight with the contrast she drew in that speech, how can this person who's done everything right, everything that you ask someone to do growing up in this society, does her homework, goes to college, goes to law school, prosecutor, attorney general, senator, vice president, running against a convicted felon who is grotesquely and obviously incompetent, who cannot speak English in any accepted form, how can that be as close as it is? Why doesn't she have 90% of the vote? What are we missing here?
Well, first of all, it's wonderful to be back here with you. Thank you. When we look at this, when people look at this as an election or only as an election, then it doesn't make sense.
Right.
When you look at this as an existential crisis over what the country will be, then it begins to make sense. People are not voting against their own interests. People are not voting against their own interests. They're voting for the interests that matter most to them. And for many, many, many Americans, as we saw on January 6th, this means maintaining their position at the very top of the American hierarchy, at the top of the American caste system, with all the rights and privileges that accrue to that. And that is not something that maybe is in the best interest of the planet or the country, but that is the best interest of the people as they ascertain it for themselves.
So rich kid, growing up rich kid, Tucker Carlson, now professional, public white racist, is up there on a Trump stage, supporting the same candidate who someone living on Social Security somewhere in Arkansas, Alabama, and trying to get by is voting for that same candidate. And what unites them is that they are both voting for their caste in this society.
You know, caste is an arbitrary graded ranking of human value in this society, and it's what determines rights, privileges, who will be protected by the authorities and who will be attacked by the authorities. And so when this system has been in place for 248 years, we were forged in revolution and in civil war. We should not be the least bit surprised at the enduring divisions that we are seeing right now. And this is rising up in part because of 2042. It's rising up in part because of the demographic shift that we are facing as a country. You know, in 2020, the census of 2020 found that for the first time in American history, the historical majority in this country, white Americans, that group is the only group whose numbers fell for the first time in American history. All other groups were either the same or they rose slightly. And so that's an existential crisis for everyone, actually, because everyone is affected by the demographics of our country. And as a result of that, that is why we're seeing so much of the fixation on immigration. Who gets to be in this country? What parts of the world are immigrants from? What parts of the world are they welcome here in this country? And also the fixation on births, not just abortion, but on births. Because with Griswold, we know, the Supreme Court case involving Griswold, that birth control is also on the table. And so these things are coalescing as part of the existential crisis that we're facing as a country. And what we are tasked with having to do is to figure out how can we figure out a way to imagine what we could be as a nation, even if the demographics are not the same. But this sense of dread, the sense of fear, is what's driving so much of what we're seeing.
So if Kamala Harris wins by 1% of the vote, becomes the next president of the United States, what's driving the Trump vote doesn't disappear.
The question would be, what would be the backlash? What would be the response? Whatever happens with this election, first of all, it's not about this election or any singular election. This is something that is our inheritance as Americans. These divisions that we are experiencing now are part of our inheritance, and it doesn't go away after an election. The passions and the grievances and the insecurities and the fears will still be there. And we as a nation will be still dealing with the divide, this chasm between groups in our country. Remember, this was manufactured division. This is not about people being good or bad. We are the inheritors of the divisions that were created before there was in the United States of America. And so our task now is to figure out, what do we do, regardless of the outcome of this election, what do we do as a nation to forge a new identity for ourselves, regardless of what the demographics do, because this is going to be with us regardless.
And in 2042, we turn a demographic corner that changes what?
It means that the historic majority of white Americans would no longer be the majority. And we would be in a situation, a configuration that no one alive, no one would ever know how to experience that, because the United States has never experienced it. Now, I think we're seeing the rumblings of what happens because of what we've seen the last few years. This is a precursor to what to the divisions and the rancor that could only grow if we don't get ahead of this as a nation.
So my message to those who feel like Donald Trump is that person that somehow is going to maintain that superiority they think they've had, though in reality they've never had. These racist systems were created not because of people's pigmentation, etc. It was a matter of controlling the entire system. And like I said, capitalism cannot exist without it. Our structures cannot exist without it, because when you have a corrosive system based on the abuse of others, when you have a system based on taking away more than you give, when you have a system that is, again, that is based on taking advantage of folks, making your profits off of the backs of everybody else, billionaires that have not earned a billion, because, well, nobody can really earn a billion if you're not stepping over somebody else. That's how it's done. The only way to keep your eye off the ball of those who are really harming you is have people fight among themselves. And as Wilkerson said, we've had this from the inception of our country, and we'll have it until we tackle it head on. And we'll have it until we tackle it head on. You know how you know Trump is losing, folks? Even as the betting market have him to win, all that good stuff. You know, there are people that are manipulating the betting market by throwing money out there. They're thinking by creating a sense that he is winning, that somehow that will give them credence when he loses on Tuesday to really try to reverse the election. Of course, it's wishful thinking, right? They've been at it for 4 years trying to figure out how they're going to do it. And the way we get around that is making sure we win by a bunch. I know what the polls are saying, but I know women are going to come out like they are right now. And I know those votes are not for Trump. Okay? A lot of them are, but I know that the majority are not for Trump. Here's the deal, though. You know how you know they know they're losing? Because they're really bringing up, see what they're doing in Pennsylvania now. Oh, in Pennsylvania, they're stealing the votes. In Pennsylvania, there's corruption. By the way, there was somebody just arrested in I don't remember what city it is, taking home a whole bunch of ballots. Yeah, you guessed it. It was a Republican. You know, it's projection. They always project what they do. Okay? They always project what they do. I'm not talking about my average Republican friend here. I'm talking about these guys that are always talking about, oh, look at all the corruption that's going on. That's because they're corrupt. All right, anyhow, Kim Gray says, I was there. Kim, where were you, Kim? Are you saying that you were at the Ellipse last night? If you were at the Ellipse last night, give me a call, 281-823-7747. Again, 281-823-7747. I'd love to hear you tell us a little bit about what was the feeling, what was the atmosphere like. Bruce Bowler says, none of that matters. Only get out the polling place and let them vote in secret. I can loses. We deserve legitimate voters. Yep, we're going to win. It was a lot of people. I wasn't paid. Thank you for telling me. Kim, call us, man. I want to hear your story. 281-823-7747. Give me a call. I want to hear your story. All right, what else have we got here? Patrick Magner is in the house. He says, meow. Hi, Patrick. How you doing? Arthur Laffer. Yep, two people told me at the same time, both Michael Ruddin and my brother, my little brother. I think he's a few months younger than me. Dr. Tice. Learned a lot from Professor Dr. Tice. Great guy. Anybody who wants to learn anything about history or government, that's the man. Learned a lot from the brother. All right, let's see what else we got here. Mike Cisak says, Harris County, October 27, University of Texas Student Center at 4:45 until further notice due to a water main break. Drive is closed. Oh, wonder why did that happen? That's sad. I guess there is a sabotage. I bet a Republican that area at the University of Texas, I mean the University of Houston, we would have gotten a lot of votes there. So now those people are going to have to go vote somewhere else. I didn't see that on October 27th. I hadn't heard about that. Okay. If Egberto is right, our nation is doomed. I am right. So I guess our nation is doomed. Oh, multiply by -1. Okay, I guess it's not doomed. Alice Aaron Dreams, welcome aboard. Our favorite person from well, you're in Houston. You are in Summerwood. Thank you. Let's see what else we got here. What else we got here? What else we got here? I'm scrolling down before I go to the next video. Patrick Magner also points out that Donald Trump, part of the Russian mob, it wouldn't surprise me again. I am jolly. They all are. Hi, I am jolly. How jolly are you? I am jolly. All right. Hey, so is somebody going to call me who was out there? 281-823-7747. Lee Grant says, happy to report early voting went smoothly in Texas. It always goes smoothly in my area, at least. But in the hood, they always have not enough machines and 6-hour waiting lines and all of that. That's voter suppression. That is voter suppression. All right, let's see what else we got here. MSNBC about to be used by Egberto again. Use me, please. Use me. Use me. All right, Lee Grant. Kamala is part of the high caste. Her mother would have been considered a Brahmin, I believe. I think that is one below, if I'm correct. And I know Rudney said, there's no more caste system. There's not an official caste system in the Indian system anymore. But as a good friend of mine who is from India tells me, it is still practiced tacitly. It's just like officially, we don't have racism in America anymore. Officially, everybody's equal. But we know there was Jim Crow and all these other things. Yeah, absolutely so. Okay, what else have we got here? What a book name, Caste. Yep, it is. That book was very popular, actually. In fact, Norman, I don't know if Norman Reynolds is in the house today, but he read it and I asked him to read it and give me a little synopsis. I don't have time to read these big books anymore. All right, Paul from Mrs. Florida, homeowners now pay on average $11,000 to insure their homes annually, highest in the nation. Inflation in the state has also been among the highest in the nation. It's amazing because, insurance is a racket, right? And if you live in a place like Florida, maybe they should nationalize insurance and then go ahead and charge it in taxes. If you want people to keep living in Florida. Otherwise, if I'm a person living in Florida, I'll hit the door. I'll hit the door. But that's another story. I don't want to start something that I don't have enough time to finish. All right, they shut down Colin. This is from Paul Fleming. They shut down Colin Kaepernick's career in NFL, but this guy continues to talk with no one telling him to shut up in the NFL. Crazy how I haven't seen anyone tell Nick Bosa to shut up and play football. Yet it's almost like the men only feel that way when well, that's what we talk about, privilege, Paul. You know that answer. Come on now. Another fun fact about Puerto Rico has been American longer than Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona, Alaska, and Hawaii. but they never became a state. They are a territory. It's colonialism. All right, let's see. Mike Cisak says, Egberto, are you talking about affirmative action, which is based on racism and sexism in violation of the Constitution? No, sir. Let me ask you this. If and I really want you to answer me this, Mike. If I stole $100,000 from you, and years later you find out that I stole it, am I responsible for paying you back, or should I just get by with doing that? It's that simple. That simple. There's nothing racist about affirmative action. The truth of the matter is affirmative action never went far enough. Affirmative action was a band-aid. If you want to make America the fair country, you have a lot of repayment to do, not only to the indigenous people, not only to black people, not only to Chinese people, not only to Japanese, but the amount of capital that America, and it's not all my white American brothers either. You guys, my white American brothers and sisters were just the pawn of capitalism. You were just used by capitalism. You have been made to be portrayed as evil by our economic system. Listen up, my brothers and my white brothers and my white sisters. All of us, you as my white brothers and sisters, my black brothers and sisters, my Latino brothers and sisters, my Caribbean brothers and sisters, we've all been played. Our hate, not my hate, because I love all of you, but many of your hate towards others and the immigrant and all of that, you have been played. Because slavery wasn't a boon for you. They made your life a little bit better, and substantially better than a black person while they could afford to, and others while they could afford to, because they needed you to have somebody to say, I am here, I'm above, right? But now, like I've always said, capitalism is unsustainable. From a mathematical point of view, it's sustained as unsustainable. So when we've stripped all the other folks, we have to come for you. And that's the problem that we're having today. Capitalism has come for the last bastion. My white brothers and sisters, capitalism has finally had to come and extract from you. And now you're screaming, and at the same time they're extracting from you, they're telling you, hey, the reason you are in pain is because of those immigrants. The reason you are in pain is because of those black folks, those Latinos, all of them. They're taken and taken. No, they're not. My Appalachian brothers and sisters are taking way more out of the Social Security system, way more out of the welfare system than any black or Latinos combined. Okay? Think about it. You've been played. And all we are trying to do right now is to make sure, hello, one sunny day, is to make sure that we realize we are all in the same boat. We should work together, we should love together, and take on the system that is destroying us all. Capitalism, as it stands, is an unsustainable model. Mathematically unsustainable. You cannot have a system that a small percentage grow at a very high rate and the rest grow at a small rate. That means it's unbalanced. The only solution is to modify and to redistribute. That's the only mathematical solution, bar none. But again, if we brainwash you, we will take as much as we can till we reach a critical state. Okay? That's the answer, folks. I got some more videos for you. Patrick Magner said, we speak that way at every economic downturn because we are being distracted from the true cause of that downturn. You got it right, brother. You got it right. You got it right. And, you know, that's why I love Patrick Magner, because he does a lot of research himself and he gets it. He gets it. All right, look, set up here. The economic system, folks, is in great shape. All right, don't let anybody fool you. It's in great shape in the aggregate, meaning the totality of the economic system as capitalism works. However, the distribution of all the gains that we've had is currently unfair, and it's currently what would I call fraudulent, because it's not distributed equitably based on who does the work at all. So right now, when you hear Trump talk about, Biden's economy is terrible, no, Trump's economy was terrible. Trump inherited a great economy from Obama, and after the pandemic came, because of his mishandling, destroyed it. Biden had to rebuild it. And I'll tell you, he did a damn good job by bringing up the Keynesian economic policies that brought the economy back without a recession. Yes, we had inflation, but the inflation was caused by what? Corporate greed. All of it. And I've explained in other videos why all our inflation was due to corporate greed and corporate ineptitude. But here is some reality about our current economy.
A new batch of economic data just released showing just how strong the economy is. Moments ago, the payroll company ADP reported private companies added 233,000 jobs in October. That is far more than expected. This as the gross domestic product expanded at 2.8% in the third quarter, driven by robust consumer spending. And consumer confidence rose more than 11%, the biggest monthly gain since March of 2021 as we were trying to pull ourselves out of the pandemic. Joining us now, the co-anchor of CNBC's Squawk Box and New York Times columnist Andrew Ross Sorkin. Andrew, good to see you. As some economists were saying again this morning, these numbers show further that our economy is the envy of the world.
It's the envy of the world. I'll throw in another statistic for you. Wages, which have been the story when it comes to inflation versus wages. Now wages up 4.6% for the year. So I only say that because year over year. I say that because it is impossible not to say on any basis that this economy is not blowing past all expectations. It's just what is happening. And given that we're here at the 11th hour of this election, any argument from anybody to say that we're not in a robust economy is just not telling you the truth. It's just, I can't say it in any other way. That part, I always say life's not black and white. That part's black and white.
Yeah, and although the Dow may have dipped a little in recent days, it's still up over 42,000. So
given the fact that the numbers on the economy that you just put out there are black and white, that's right. your words. I'm curious. There's a lot of viewers being fed disinformation on the economy on a 24/7 basis. Joe Biden's economy, it's terrible. Joe Biden's economy, Kamala Harris's economy, it's terrible.
Can't be said with a straight face.
Okay, I know, but they say it with a straight face.
I know.
My bigger question is the billionaires and the market movers that you talk with in your circles, on your show, in your reporting. How can they honestly say that Trump is a good opportunity for their businesses and this country? Because ultimately, this country's economic health impacts their businesses, does it not? And these are very smart men. They're alpha males. They're very smart.
What's happened?
They have so much money, Andrew.
What's happened, and it is, to me, it's a disgrace and it's sad that there are so many people at the top of the business community who, by the way, have the wealth and wherewithal.
But it's self-sabotage, isn't it?
But they have the wherewithal to stand up and speak out if they so choose, and they are choosing not to because out of fear. That's what this is. Jeff Sonnenfeld had a piece with a number of CEOs, former CEOs, who were willing to go on the record on behalf of Kamala Harris. But what's so telling about that is they're former Fortune 500 CEOs. Most of them
they're afraid of. They're afraid of it, their company being a target and going after them, and they need to do business with the government, and they want their deals to go through, and they're saying, I'm responsible to my shareholders, and the fact that it's even a consideration.
Winning is actually self-sabotage. If Andrew's information, black and white, is true, which I believe, that the economy is healthy and doing. How would you characterize
I think that
how the economy is doing compared to 10 years ago?
I think you look at what happened. I mean, I think this all goes back not just to Trump, but to even Ron DeSantis with Disney. I think people look at these examples of politicians who truly have weaponized their profession against the business community, and therefore you have business leaders who used to stand up and talk about politics. It used to be very look, Warren Buffett used to campaign on behalf of Hillary Clinton. He was public. He would do rallies. Jamie Dimon used to donate to politicians in his own name. He doesn't do this anymore. I mean, there's a real shift that's happening in America. We talked about Jeff Bezos yesterday. I'm just saying there's a whole group of people who I think live today in a different sense of fear. And by the way, I think they also look at these different signals in markets and say, well, if it's this close and there's a chance that he's going to win, where am I going to be on the other side of that? Now, so I'm not sympathizing with it. I'm just suggesting to you that I think when we try to understand how this is all happening, why this is happening, that's what it is. And it's sad to me.
So they're choosing their self-interest, their own personal, needy self-interest as opposed to the country.
Look, I think if you have that kind of wealth, especially at those levels.
Care.
No, you should be able to. You should be able to. If people who have that kind of wealth can't stand up, who can?
I know.
I mean, that is the question.
Thank you.
Right? But what you've seen over and over is most of the people, Mark Cuban doesn't run a publicly traded company. Reid Hoffman doesn't run a publicly traded company. It's interesting to me that Elon Musk actually does. He's one of the few on the other side who does. But most of them have tried to stay out of the fray because they think that this has become so tribal. But specifically, I think it's not just the tribalism itself. It's that there's a particular candidate in this election that they worry is going to weaponize and come after them.
The bottom line is this. The economy is doing very well on the macro level. All the numbers are cooking. Where it's deficient is in how all that money created and that rebuilding in the economy, how it is redistributed. Yes, the people's earning wages have gone up by 4-point-something%, while inflation is at 2%, which means there's a net 2% gain in their buying power with their money. But that is not enough based on what they've lost in buying power. That is not enough based on what has been occurring since 1980 and Reaganomics. We have already shown that if you take a look and adjust for inflation, the minimum wage right now should be 20-something%. Or rather, $21 or so should be the minimum wage at least right now. But it is sad. It is sad that that is the case, folks. We are going to. I have another video, but I don't have enough time to play it. Now, if you take a look at Mike Cisak hyperventilating in the chat room, you have to realize the orchestration that Republicans have done. They've released a lot of bogus polls to try to mess with the averages. Arizona does not have a 8-point gap between Trump and Harris. In fact, there's a good chance Harris will win Arizona right now. While it is true that more Republicans are currently going to vote, there are more women voting, which stands to say that likely these are Republican women voting for Harris. I mean, we have some empirical polls. You can go to the Daily Kos and check out some of those polls that actually ask the people who have already voted who they voted for. And it turns out that, well, I don't even need to tell you. Just go to the Daily Kos and read the articles on it so far. So let's be clear. The reason they're reason they're staging and seeding the internet with, look, she's up. Trump is up by 8 points in Arizona. Trump is up by 8 points in Nevada. Trump is up by this in Pennsylvania. They're trying to create a platform. Two things. They're trying to depress those people who would go out to vote. And secondly, what they're trying to do as well is to create a reason for them to challenge the election after they've lost. But we are all up on speed with what's going to be happening, so we know what's going on. We acknowledge what's going on. Anyway, I got to get out of here, but before I get out of here, I need to ask all of you to support the program. Please support the program by going to politicsdoneright.com/support. That gives you the all-encompassing manner in which to support the program. But what I really, really would love for all of you to do, those who have the wherewithal to do so, to please become paid subscribers of our newsletter. That is how we can continue to maintain doing this. Become a paid subscriber of our newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I cannot keep doing this without you. We've had a lot of supporters over the years. As you know, some people have to kind of pin off after a while. We do need a lot of, if we can get another 1,000, if another 1,000, actually we don't even have 1,000, we have about 200 something subscribers to our newsletter. If we can get about 1,500 to 2,000 subscribers to our newsletter, that would make a huge difference in being able to again, that would make a huge difference in being able to hire folks to help. Right now, it is extremely, extremely hard the way we're going right now. But anyhow, I got to get out of here. Love you guys. Let's have a great show tomorrow. By the way, Tom C stopped by this morning at Daily Coast. I'm not Daily Coast, at KPFT, as well as, of course, my regulars that are there. Anyway, folks, got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.